I just wanted to recognize you and just, man, take my hat off to you, because that is leadership without having a title. And I think that is what makes a good school a great school, when they have people like you that are willing to just make it happen. Like, my love language is execution, and you just execute. If you're an educator that's passionate, but you're tired and you're burnt out and you're wondering what to do next, this is the show for you. We're going to learn together, we're going to recharge together, and we're going to grow together so you can be the best you and serve your students and your community to the best of your ability. Welcome to the Teachers Ed Podcast, the place where the best and brightest in education come to be inspired, to connect, to learn, to grow. I'm your host, Edward DeShazer. I'm excited that you're here, that you've joined us. If you are listening on your favorite podcast platform, I would ask for you to subscribe to the channel, share this with whoever you think else can benefit it. If you are watching on YouTube, right now a cat just walked in front of me. Hit that little thumbs up button, comment, show some love there, and share this wherever and with whomever you think can benefit from hearing this podcast. Today's guest is someone I have had the pleasure to work with over the summer. I met 2 summers ago. Not only is he a dope educator, he is also a DJ. Today I have on Dustin Thomas, otherwise known as DJ DT.
Thanks for having me, Ed.
Yeah, hit the horns. Oh, man, I appreciate you for joining me. Just to start, jumping right in, I want you to just share with everyone listening who you are, where you're located, what you do in education, and just give a little background on what got you in education.
Sure. So, like you said, my name is Dustin. I'm a elementary school phys ed teacher. I currently serve in a pre-K to 5 elementary school. We have just north of 1,000 students where I'm at. Very low socioeconomic place where I'm at. This is my 15th year coming up.
Nice.
I did not always want to be an educator. Matter of fact, I didn't know what I wanted to be. I hated school growing up. Never took SATs. Kind of did enough to get by in class. And the week I graduated high school, I started UPS because I wanted to be a UPS driver. And I quickly found out that I couldn't drive at 18 years old, so I had to work in the warehouse. So anyway, as I continued to do that, I had a friend of mine, still my very best friend to this day, but he's like, go back to school. I'll help you out. Just take one class at a time. So fast forward, I ended up graduating. My man helped me out tremendously, who's now actually is my principal at my school. So It's a very, very cool thing. Once I kind of figured out what I wanted to do, and I've always been into sports, so it kind of just made sense to put 2 and 2 together. So, like I said, this is currently year 15 for me. I've been in my current school. This is year 11. That's going to happen. And so that's kind of where I'm at. I'm located on the Eastern Shore of Maryland, so I'm like an hour and a half south of Baltimore. That's where I'm at.
For those that are listening, my unsolicited opinion, for anyone that cares, being a gym teacher is the best teaching job in the world.
It's a good gig for sure. For
those that don't know my background, my actually first job at a school was teaching gym. I always worked at a Boys and Girls Club. So when I moved back to Milwaukee and was offered a teaching job, it was just like, hey, would you be a gym teacher and start our gym program at the school my father founded? And that was the first job I took. And I was like, this is the best. I get to wear gym shorts to work. I get to play basketball, play badminton. Like, I absolutely loved it. So if I was ever to go back in a classroom, my classroom, I would hope would be a gym, because that was the best. I don't care what anyone says. There was nothing better than like getting a workout with the kids. And especially at the age you're at, because you got, little kids that still look at you like you're a superhero. You're not like in high school where the kids like really think they can beat you. Like, these kids still look at you like you're a superhero, which is like that's also why I love that kindergarten through 5th grade range. I mean, our school's K to 8, but that kindergarten to 5th grade range, kids are big enough. They start getting big enough to like get it, but not big enough to think that they're like an adult yet. So it's a cool age range.
Absolutely.
And some of the stuff when just the times that we've met, talking about culture, and we'll get into the origin of rhythm and roots. But, one of the things I just really am passionate about is school culture. And I know some people that are in a classroom, and I'm just speaking from my experience, some people that are in a classroom look at a gym as though, oh, it's easy, the kids just play. What I know from my experience was being a special teacher, like a specialist teacher, is difficult because you don't have just the same 20 to 30 kids. You have different waves of kids all day long that you're building and setting expectations for. So, what are some of the elements just for you in the gym and in the phys ed space that help you create a culture in your classroom?
Yes, that's a great topic. And also, before I start, I just want to say that right in my region right now, we have a ton at my school, a ton of ELL kids who English is a second language. As a matter of fact, we have over 300 kids that English is a second language. We have the highest population of schools in our area. Ton of Haitian Creole kids coming in, ton of Portuguese kids coming in. Of course, our Spanish population. So keeping those expectations high and keeping culture in mind, it is difficult. It's difficult to reach everyone and keep that expectation and that bar raised. So I think for me, what I've always tried to do is try to create ways to kind of make the gym a safe place for these kids to go and to be relevant and inviting to those kids. Just to give you an example, I'm pretty okay with Spanish as far as communicating with my kids, but Creole, I was struggling real bad. So last summer we took a trip, a couple people from school. We went around the area and just went and like to see what kind of resources there were in our community for the Haitian Creole and Spanish populations. We learned things that a normal person would have no idea what they go through just to make it in their everyday lives. Um, and what kind of just community outreach supports that they give. Where do they buy groceries from? How did they get cell phones? How they get service? How they pay
Mm,
for things? So from that trip, I asked one of the Haitian Creole instructors. I was like, "Hey, like, how can I communicate with my kids better?" So he's like, I'm gonna give you one word, sac passe. And I was like, what does that mean? He said, that's like, what's up? How you doing in Haitian
nice.
Creole? So I was like, okay, cool. So like, it's funny, like when I went back to school and started using that, the kids' faces just like lit up. Like, how do you know that as a white man? Like, how do you
Yeah.
know that? So from there, I went ahead and created a cheat sheet for me and put on the wall of like 10 or 15 different Haitian Creole sayings, just so I can communicate with them. And we, as a school, use the Ron Clark Academy philosophies. We have houses, that sort of thing. So when the kids come into gym on their first day of school, whenever that is throughout the school year, they spin our wheel. They see what house they get in. So that's a way for me to communicate with them in their own language, or have someone in the class like translate for me, like, "Hey, come on over here and spin the wheel." So I try to create ways that I can communicate with them just to build that culture up. And feel relevant. And then for our normal English speakers, I think it's important, and it might be easier for me than some people because I'm in the DJ world, so I know what's popping, I know what's
Hmm.
flopping, and I can kind of give that lingo to the kids, and they
Yeah.
kind of respect that. Yeah, it's corny sometimes, but again, they can relate to that, and I think it probably helps me out throughout the day. And like you said, I teach 6 or 7 classes a day, depending on the day. So I mean, we're talking like 150 kids to 200 kids a day. It's a revolving door. So I think being able to pivot and move in different areas, some things that you teach in this class and what goes well is not going to go well in another class you're going to have an hour from now. So I
Yep.
think you got to just stay on your toes, pivot, and just learn the ins and outs of each class and their dynamics, and then what makes them tick.
Yeah, and I think that one of the foundation of what you shared that I think it's really going to be important for people to listeners to hear and to receive is when you had students that weren't familiar to what you were doing, you went to be familiar with what they were doing. And that is something that it was work. and it's challenging, but those kids now, when they show up, because you learn something as simple as a phrase that they can connect with, they feel like they belong. And that is
Absolutely.
something that students, even white students in a white school, like students, because of the world of social media and comparison and all, like there's overload of everything. Students in general are struggling with feeling like they belong because we're so busy comparing us to everything else. So I love that you shared that, but also that you are relevant to them. And, you called it corny, which to the kids it is. And I've learned because I have a 13-year-old son, and when I say anything that is like relevant to pop culture, he thinks it's corny because I am a grown up, and we were watching Squid Games. He wasn't with us, but my wife and I were watching Squid Games, and he was like, "You guys watch Squid Games?" Like, buddy, I'm like, why are you watching Squid Games? I was
Right,
like,
right.
my response, like, wait, why are you watching that? But I think, it's okay to be corny, because even if you're in the know of what's going on, students just think we're corny because we are the adults. Like we're on the older end of the adults. We're not the 26-year-old teacher that just walked in, that they still look at them like, oh, they're not that far removed. Like we're the unks at this point.
The Unk. That's right, Unk. You're right.
Man, a kid called me that the other day. I looked, I'm like, oh Lord, that's where we're at. And I can't even be mad because like I catch myself doing when I was in school, and I just gotta stop myself. Like, man, I became my dad
That's
real,
right. That's right.
real fast. Like when
Unk's
I was
dad.
in school,
No doubt, man.
we didn't have this and we didn't have that, and we had to walk to the encyclopedias. It's like, man, we are worse than our parents. The same stuff they were doing, now we're doing
Absolutely.
to this new
Full circle.
generation. Um, but I want to dive into the Rhythm and Roots program and kind of let you share a little bit about what that is and what that looks like in your school and in your community.
Sure. So Rhythm and Roots is a project that um it started out with no name. So basically in 2019 I had three boys who I taught who lost their dad. He was a gospel drummer in the area, very well known, traveled around different bands. So he passed away of a heart attack in the summer, and then when the kids got back to school that next school year, I could just tell like severe trauma going on. Not not the way they left for sure, as to be expected. So, um, I just trying to. I don't know why I connected with them so much. I mean, like I said, we have over 1,000 kids. Like I try to be helpful to everyone, but like something just about them, I don't know, just drew me to them. So I played drums when I was in when was a little kid. I quit my middle school year because I just thought it was corny. Like that, I hate to say it, but like playing hot cross buns and all those like basic songs, like it just got old. Like I got older. Like I started, getting in puberty and stuff. I wasn't feeling it anymore. So anyway, I've
Hold
always
on,
been
before you
like
go any further, was it just like one of the was it just like the single snare drum that you
the
guys had?
single snare, yeah. And we had a
It's
little
like you
pad.
got one little
Yeah,
drum in
that's it.
front of you, and you're just like you can do with
That's it.
that.
Or we could play the bass. We could play the bass on the sides, but
Yeah.
just very basic. Like it just was. I mean, it was cool for a little bit, but like I was like, oh, I'm not doing this. I'm not carrying this with me. So, anyway, so like and where I was gonna go was like I've always been fascinated with like buskers and like just the how hip hop just is just so raw and it can tell stories. And I've always been hip hop. I had an older sister who used to listen to every morning, like I don't know which, I think it's called like Video Music Box or something back in the day. So she was
Yeah,
older than me, so I always
the
like I grew up
box.
listening to NWA and all these people like growing up, and I know it just always like resonated with me. So when I saw these boys struggling, I was like, you know what? I wonder if I could take them after school, one or twice a week, and just like bang on some drums for a little bit. And at the time, we had nothing but buckets, like 5 gallon buckets, just like a busker would. So I was like, you know what? Let's just, we'll put on some YouTube, let them have a little outlet to release some energy, keep their dad's memory going on. So anyway, we started doing that, and then more people saw it, more people wanted to join. So from there, we ended up getting a full drum kit. So, and then once we got that
Nice.
drum kit, I could add more kids, blah, 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 blah. And then that turned into, okay, let's get a DJ board. And I knew nothing about DJing at the time. I just kind of, taught myself. And I had a friend of mine helping me. And we learned just how to, start mixing music, that sort of thing. Now we're like, oh, can we lay down some tracks? And then I wrote a grant. Now we have a recording studio in our school.
Nice.
Yeah. So
I
the
love
kids
it.
can go in there and write stuff. And we've used it all the time. Um, so um, so from there, you're like, you know what? Let's be legit. So we end up calling our group Rhythm and Roots because rhythm is the key to every piece of music, and then roots are trying to use the roots of hip hop because at the time, what I was trying to tell the kids is like, that song you listen to right now, like, do you know who sampled that back in 1997? It's this song. So like we tried to bring in the roots of it all just to kind of broaden the horizon. Is very what you're listening to is very specific, but let's look globally because it's everywhere. It's been everywhere for years. Talking to them about Clive Campbell and DJ Kool Herc and migrating from Jamaica to the Bronx,
Yeah.
back in the day. So it's kind of just it grew into this program that I had no idea that it was ever going to grow into. So we just started, rocking with it. People started inviting us from the community. They do different events, that sort of thing. And then most recently, I haven't even told you this, Ed, but um, when we go out places, parents are always like, how can my kid get involved? Blah, blah, blah. So we officially made it into a nonprofit. So as of December of this past year, we're officially a 501c3.
Nice.
We had to change the name to Drop in the Beat. So,
Okay.
Drop in the Beat is pretty much a spot where all the kids in the community and young adults can come in. They can learn how to drum. They can learn to DJ. They can record audio, mix and master tunes, sing, spoken word, dance. So that's popping off. That's going to launch actually in September of this year. So that's kind of where it started and where it's evolved to.
Yeah. Is there a website that, and I'll give you an opportunity to share more at the
Yeah,
end,
for
but right
sure.
now, is there a website that you can share for anyone that's interested, can check it out?
Yep, it's www.droppin, DROPPIN, thebeat.com. And that's going
I
to
love
have,
it.
yeah, it's going to have our website and everything on there and what we do and some clips, all that sort of thing.
Nice. And there's one thing I talk about this when I do presentations with staff or with students, I always have music playing as
Mm-hmm.
people are coming in. And I have only heard of one person, and I don't know the person personally, but one person that just does not like music. And if there's one thing I know is that now you can say I don't like rap or I don't like rock or I don't like country, but
Mm-hmm.
music resonates with people. It can bring out emotions and feelings in people. And it's a great way to connect with students, to get just people connecting in general. Like you look at a concert, and I've been at concerts and you look around and you're like, there's so many different people here and we're all singing the exact same song. So that's a totally different topic, but I just think there's something special about music that when kids can get involved in that, it is difficult these days to get kids to want to read and do
Mm-hmm.
math, but if you can find ways to infuse music into learning, like there's some kids that just aren't going to be good at math, but if you give them some drumsticks, they may be the best drummer in the world. So
Absolutely.
so I always think those type of programming, and unfortunately, when schools do budget cuts, it's stuff like music that gets cut first. But like
Mm-hmm.
those are programs that may be the only reason a couple kids come to school, because they know like I got to do all this other stuff so I can get to my music program, so I can get to my art class, so I can get to whatever that special class is. So I just want to make sure that anyone listening, you check that out. Just because we want to support good programming, because our kids need more than just the basic subjects that we do in school. So hats off to you and your team for that work. And is this an after school program or during school thing?
This is going to be after school. So I'm going to keep so usually I practice on Wednesdays for my school kids. So that's going to be Wednesdays direct after school. And then dropping the beat is actually going to be at a site in our community that's going to be in the evening time. So once parents get out of work, they can take them in for a couple hours and get that done. So that's where
Yeah,
we're at.
I love it. And kind of running right into music and culture, what is, how is, being a DJ and being a musician, how has that helped you kind of shape the work that you're doing as far as, being do you call it a gym teacher? I don't want to like, listen, I
I don't
made a
care.
mistake. I made a mistake. I made a mistake. I spoke at a counselor conference like 3 years ago. And as a kid, I was always told guidance counselor.
Hmm.
And I slipped and said that. They were not having it. Yeah, it's like but they were cool. Someone came up to me like, just so you know, it's counselor. And because that's not the cult, that is not the room I'm in.
Hmm.
But I respected that because they do more than guidance. So I was like, someone maybe I may say gym teacher. So I was like, I'm more than a gym teacher. I'm the physical education teacher. I
No,
don't know. I ain't trying to get canceled by all the gym teachers out there, man. I'm trying to play. I want
I
everyone to
can
like me.
I can tell you though, some people get really offended by it. But like I don't. That's whatever, man. I'm a teacher, just like anybody else. I just use PE or gym as my vehicle. That's all.
Yeah.
But yeah, to get back to your question, I I think what works for me in my school, it may not work the same for other people in different areas or school. My school is very musically driven, just based on the culture, just based on things we do as a school. Um, so like in the past, when I first started teaching, just like I'm sure most people could do, like they probably look back on that and like cringe, like I can't believe I used to do that back in the day. But like when I first started teaching, I used to use my whistle like I was a football coach at Alabama, like stop, start, like faster, blah blah, and like I don't even carry a whistle anymore. Like it's not even in my repertoire of anything I will pull from. So I kind of changed that now to music. So like on my stop and go, I use music all day long,
Love it.
constantly. So that's kind of like my signal, and they know what they got to do when it goes off, and when it does go on, they know what they got to do. We use chants and cheers throughout the day constantly. It's just kind of part of our school culture that we do. So I would say that it works for me in my current place of setting. If I were to go somewhere else that didn't have that, I don't know that I would have the success that I do currently. I would have to reteach the kids my sort of thing, but I feel like just as you were saying, like you met one person that didn't like music, but like just think about the the millions of other people that do like music is a universal language. So I think that using that language, using those songs that the kids are now
Mm-hmm.
rocking with. Like I was just having this conversation the other day with somebody. I was like, you know what, like I can do a wedding now, and I put the wobble on, and it's hitting like for a solid 4 or 5 minutes. But you put the wobble on for these kids today, they have no idea what to do
No
because
clue.
their TikTok songs are like 15 seconds and that's it.
Yep.
And they're moving on to the next one. So it's had to change me as a DJ. When I do kids events, like I gotta go in and start digging through TikTok and seeing stuff, what's relevant to them. But I just think that it's funny how like music has evolved, and like when I was a kid looking at like the Bee Gees, like like dad, that's whack. Like why you listen to that? And like the kids now look at me like, Lil Wayne, like who was that old man? You know what I mean?
Yep.
But it's just funny how it changes, but it's still music. Music is life. Music is the heartbeat. So I just think it's funny how it evolves, but it's still the same thing. You use it to your advantage, and you use it to build that climate and culture in your building.
Yep. And we got a little bit of time left. I want to kind of we touched briefly on the after school program aspect, but I'm big on, programs, and I know there's schools across the country just like we don't have programs. We don't, what are excuse me, what are some of the strong, like, you've been working when doing after school stuff. What are some of the aspects that you feel are can make a strong after school program? Because like for example, at our school, we had aftercare and we made sure to call it aftercare. It was not an after school program because we didn't have the structure. And this is just me being honest. We didn't have the structure of like that. You're going to go here and do this. We just had a resource for our parents that could not pick their kids up because we didn't have transportation last year. So it was just like your kids stay after. But what are some of the things that schools, in your opinion, can do, to have an after school. And I know teachers are tired, they want to go home. I hear that. But there are some teachers that are passionate. And let me stop. It's not that teachers that don't want to stay after school aren't passionate. Like, some have families. Some are tired. Some just want to go home and sit and not hear noise for a bit. But what are some of the things a school can do or a teacher could do to implement whatever their passion? Like you did it with music. Maybe someone's art. What are some ideas that someone could help implement their idea into an after school program after school?
Well, I think that's a great question, Ed. I think first, I think you have to have solid admin wherever you are. And just speaking from my county, like I know, for example, like my admin team is very supportive of anything that's going to help a kid out. But I know other admin who roll out with the teachers at 3 o'clock. Nothing wrong with it. I mean, if you can do it, do it. But they're not going to be as supportive if you have an idea to bring that to life. I also think it's important to I don't think you necessarily have to do a needs assessment for your school, but I think it's important to get the kids involved in what they want to do. For instance, example, we've had this program for years in our county called Nothing But Net. It's a basketball program. The kids have to earn so many points a week. They get strikes, so they get so many strikes to kicked off, and it's to kind of get them to focus that last part of the year to get them through into the next grade. So it's just kind of like an incentive based basketball program. Well, I noticed a couple years after I started doing that, getting comfortable in my school, like, man, like I got a bunch of Hispanic kids that have nothing to do because they don't like basketball. So I was like, I wonder, like, what's something that they could really benefit from. So started asking some questions. Soccer, 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 soccer. So me and another colleague from a different school got together and were like, you want to write a grant to do like a indoor soccer, or they call it futsal, which is like a version of indoor
Mhm.
soccer. I'm not sure if you're familiar or not, but
Yep.
it's a smaller version of indoor soccer. So we wrote a grant. We ended up getting that grant funded through our community foundation locally, enough to buy us goals, enough to buy us jerseys, shin guards, futsal balls. And then we actually built a program. I know nothing about futsal. I just pretty much let them do what they want to do. We did some drills that I knew from a kid, from just being a PE teacher, and then we actually played them a couple times throughout that little season. But if we had not done the work to do that, these kids will still have nothing to do.
Yep.
So I think it's important to see what your kids are into and then engage that. And then I actually had kids come back, older siblings that wanted to help coach that. So I was like, easy peasy, bro. And also too, like, and just other things, like our school in the past has had jazz, tap, step teams. But again, like I think those all are things that you have to have the right people in place, and I think you have to have some sort of ability to gauge your students and see what they like to even bring that in, because like you say, aftercare, like that's a parent's choice. Like, I don't have anywhere for you to go, I'm gonna sign you up for this. But if you have something that they're into, like, the kids would be like, hell yeah, like sign me up for that, I'm gonna do
Yep.
this.
Yep.
So that's kind of what I think needs to happen. And is I think you just have to be relevant and ask questions and see, what are these kids into, that I'd be able to facilitate and help these kids, and further what they want to do throughout the school day.
Yeah, and I need to point something out for my teachers listening and for my school leaders. One thing that I've just noticed, and obviously, you and I have had conversations, but we've never really gotten this deep in the conversation. And one thing I want to highlight is, one thing I'm hearing from you is that you lead from where you are. And I think so often teachers are like, how do I get into leadership? And sometimes it's just leading in them where you are. And everything you
Mhm.
said, you were like, I had an idea. I went and found a grant. I did this. I didn't know what I was doing. And I know part of that is you have an administration that you can go and they're not going to, if something doesn't work, they're not going to be like, that's what you get for trying. But I just want to highlight the fact, and hats off to you that you lead from where you are. I know there's a lot of teachers that do that, but then there's some teachers that are scared to do that because they're like, what if they say no? You were like, I had an idea. I went and got a grant because money is a problem. And as we know, money's frozen. And I mean, that's a whole different TED Talks. But like leading where you are is something that without money, a staff member could do it. Someone could have been like, you know what? I'm just going to go and buy a $7 soccer ball and we can figure it out. We can tape masking tape on the wall for goals if we have to. So I just want to really highlight that of, as someone, when I do leadership training, I always encourage school leaders. The best way to have a strong culture is to create more leaders. And how do you create more leaders? It's finding people like you that are doing things and just leading from where they are and finding ways to give them pass if that's something they want. Like I know some people are like, I don't want to lead with people. I don't want to lead a school because it's a headache, which it is. But there are other, I've had one of my teachers that I had all my life just retired, and he never wanted to get in leadership. He was a sociology teacher and a social studies teacher, and he was like, I loved going to work every day. I just had to worry about the 20 kids in my class and nobody else. And also, really, if you're a teacher listening and you're wondering like, how can I grow as a leader? Just start where you are. It doesn't have to be anything big. Maybe it's a program and you love art and you want to do it with 5 kids. Maybe it's something you're passionate about. There's been so many people that I've seen in education that have really dynamic skills, and they start a club in a program, and next thing you know, they get a grant for $2,000, and then it works. And then someone else is like, how do we do that? And then next thing you know, another grant. And then there's businesses that are like, we're an art institute and we'll fund it. So it's all about starting where you are and not being scared, as a teacher, as an educator, to do something that you're passionate about outside of just teaching whatever subject or topic or matter you teach. But if there's other, like I love to golf, and I would love one day to have I'm not good enough to be training other people how to golf, like but like it's something I love to do. And as a black man, there aren't enough people when I go golf that look like me. And there's programs out here that are doing that, but that's for me is like something I would love. When I fully retire, it's like to be able to golf with kids and spend that time and just teach and open doors, kind of what you have done for music. So I just wanted to recognize you and just, man, take my hat off to you, because that is leadership without having a title. And I think that is what makes a good school a great school, when they have people like you that are willing to just make it happen. Like my love language is execution, and you just execute. So man, I just want to make sure I recognize that. But I know, we are running out of time. So what I want to end with, I want to do a little some rapid fire questions for you. So I'm gonna put you on the spot, do this with every guest. The first question is 90s hip hop or 2000 R&B?
Ooh, 90s hip hop all day.
So I had Principal Mo on, and what she said, and I haven't verified this yet, she said the best time frame for music for our generation was 96 to 99. She said all the biggest hits were from all the biggest hits that we think back and we're like, man, that was my jam. 96 to 99. So I have not verified it yet, but I'm going to. Okay. But that was what she shared with me, and it stuck with me because I'm sure going to look it up because I love music.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's good years for sure. Absolutely.
All right, next one. Jay-Z or Nas?
Oh, I got to go Jay-Z. Nas, New York State of Mind. Great albums, great songs. But I think, Jay-Z's a mogul. Jay-Z, he's still relevant to this day. I was reading something the other day about how Jim Jones was going after Nas, saying that he was more relevant than Nas was, and it just kind of like, for what? Like you're 50 years old now. Like, who cares? But I just think that Jay-Z is just a mogul that he just has hit after hit, selling out the Garden in a day. He's got Beyonce too. I mean, my Lord, it's a no-brainer.
A billion dollar family.
Absolutely.
Your favorite artist of all time?
All time. Wow, this is a tough one. So growing up, as I started to evolve and like start to understand like different things, I appreciated NWA. First of all, because they're very relevant for me back in the day. But when Public Enemy came out, and started doing the stuff about police brutality and privilege and stuff like that, like I always like listened to that, but once I started like seeing and believing, like oh, you know what, that's deep. That I did not know that was for real. So they kind of like molded me as a younger guy. Um, but as far as like who would I blast in my vehicle from back in the day, I'm an East Coast guy, so I think Biggie probably is up there. However, I think Pac just has too many bangers.
Oh, you switched on him.
Too many too many hit after hit after hit. What I love about Tupac is like if you just go on Spotify and just listen to his albums, he has so much music that is not even like you've never even heard of because it's not suitable for radio. But the stories he tells and just the way that he goes in and out of them, I think that Pac for me is the GOAT. But I'm an East Coast guy, so you know I have a love hate with that and Biggie. But I gotta say Pac. Gotta say Pac, Ed.
All right, closing out with Pac. Well, Dustin, man, I appreciate you for jumping on. I appreciate you for taking time. What I want you to do is just let everyone know where they can find you on social media. Again, if you can, please give them the Droppin'. Is it Droppin' the Beats website or Droppin' the Beat? I want to make sure that anyone that's listening, if you have an opportunity, go give Dustin a follow, connect with him. I'm just big on like this education work is not easy for us to do. So it is absolutely critical that we surround ourselves. It doesn't have to be in your local community. Like our educational community is worldwide. Like we need to be connected with the best educators. And that was the purpose of this podcast, to bring the best educators together, the best people together, because we need to link arms in the work that we do. So let everyone know where they can find you. And then I'll swing us out.
Cool. You can find me on Instagram at Dustin_DJDT. And my website is droppin, the beat.com.
Awesome. And to all of our all of our listeners, if this episode hit home, please make sure you like, please make sure you subscribe on whatever podcast on YouTube. Smash that like button, subscribe, drop a comment. Let me know your favorite music era and your favorite song in the comments of this video for the listeners and viewers that we have on there. But again, this is the Teachers Ed podcast. We appreciate you for listening, and we will catch you next time. Keep showing up, keep building, and keep the rhythm alive. Appreciate y'all.